Hello. So yesterday I made a video about a memory as a child. And at the end of that video, I realized something. In the last video that I made, I was asking about, like the boyfriend name and if that's something that's a thing with, schizophrenia. And I realized that my mom actually hadn't been diagnosed with schizophrenia when she was giving us the wrong name of her boyfriend. So, it could have just been that she was already having symptoms and nobody knew. But as far as I knew, when I was a kid, what she had told us and what we had known was that her boyfriend had actually given her a substance laced with another substance, and that's what drove her crazy and pushed her to the edge of the chemical imbalance. I hope this makes sense to some of you. I know some will understand that. So I'll try to make the story shorter because it was pretty long yesterday, but I did want to throw that in there. So I could be wrong about why she made up the name of her boyfriend and if it was part of schizophrenia or not. I'm really not sure now anymore. So the memory I had was her boyfriend Michael. It was either his or his family had a cabin up north. So it was like I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was up north by like Tahoe or Reno or I can't even remember, Red Bluff, I don't know, but it was so long ago. So it was up north, up that way in the cabin. And so my brother had his friend with him. I believe it was Joey, and I guess my friend couldn't make it or something like that. So it was just us three kids, and we went up to the cabin for the weekend. And I remember in the cabin there was a room. It was like a book room with a table. I don't know if it was like a smoke room or something for adults or whatever, or a cigar room or a poker room or whatever. I don't really know. I don't remember that part of why that room was there, but it was a very small room. And it had a lot of books on the bookshelf, and a table with some chairs around it. And it closed. So, and the door was glass. So, my mom was like, there's a Ouija board, let's play it. And so I didn't want to, but I was always called the chicken. It was probably God giving me, signs and discernment, don't do it. But, now I realize that as an adult, but as a kid I didn't. So, I was, called a chicken, and then, so we played the Ouija board, and it was mostly my mom that really wanted to play it. And, my brother kind of just went along with whatever my mom wanted. So we all sat around the table. I don't know where her boyfriend was. He wasn't there. So it was just us. And to be honest with you, I don't really recall him being there very much. So I don't know if we were up there with him and he had business. I'm not sure. He was a biker. I know that. I don't know what he actually did for a living, but I know he drove a bike. He was a biker. I remember him with the leather vest or whatever. He was a tall man, big tall man. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't know if this was just part of me blocking out things from my childhood or what, but or if I was just so young that I don't remember, but I cannot picture his face. Like I can see a body, I can hear his voice, but if I try to remember what he looked like, I can't picture his face. His face is blank to me right now. And the majority of my life it's been like that. It's possible because of just like childhood trauma, and I blocked out like those moments in my life because there was bad moments. Those are other stories to come. So anyways, we sat at the table. My mom was asking like questions like, am I gonna get married? Am I gonna have a baby? Mostly hers was like, am I gonna get married? Da da da. And so the little thing that comes with the Ouija board was moving, and I think it was like, I don't remember what it was going to, but we thought my mom was messing around with us, and we were like, stop playing, because it was moving. And so she till this day, like this was a few years ago that we asked her like if she was playing around, and she was like, no, it was really moving. So after we did that, then, we were done with it. I don't know why we stopped, but it was time to play outside. Me and my brother, we were very outdoorsy kids. We played outdoors all the time because my mom was either sleeping or doing bad things. Anyways, I remember walking through the woods, and I'm an explorer. I'm not scared, and I'm not scared to explore outside. So I just remember walking through the woods, and I felt like something was watching me, and it was the creepiest feeling. And I didn't go as far as I would normally go because I really felt like something was watching me, and I felt scared to my bone. Like if I was a cat, all of my hairs would have stood up in the back. So I listened to that little voice that said go back, and I went back, and the room that we were in with the Ouija board was kind of like in the middle, close to the kitchen, I believe. I'm trying to remember how it was set up, but I remember I had to pass that room that we were in, and like I said, the door was a glass door, so every single time I had to pass that stupid room, I still had that feeling of something staring at me in that room. So whatever my mom was playing around with was there. Whatever came out of that Ouija board was there. I know it was, because it was staring at me, and I was always scared every time I passed that room, and I felt something was watching me. And I really truly feel like whatever that was, my mom, it was, I don't know, entered my mom or possessed my mom, or it was something. So later that night, me and my brother and his friend, we all wanted to sleep on the ground in the living room by the fireplace. So we all went to sleep that night. My mom came out. She wanted to play the Ouija board again. She was relentless. She was like, let's play again, let's play again. Sorry, I want my answers. I pretended like I didn't hear her, like I was heavy sleeping when she tried to wake me up. So I just kind of, made sure that she went away from me. And so I remember hearing her waking up my brother, and she tried to wake him up a couple times, and he finally got up. And I don't know what they did, but I went back to sleep. I was like, I'm going to sleep. I don't want to have anything to do with this. And I remember that I wasn't sleeping when that happened, I think, because when we got older, I asked my brother, I mentioned that to him, and I told him, I was like, hey, remember when that happened with the Ouija board, And I was like, you need to pray against whatever the heck came out of that Ouija board, because I have a bad feeling. And he was like, nah, he was kind of like, yeah, nah. But then he's like, oh, really? Like he listened to me, but then he was like, no, it wasn't that bad, whatever. But I asked him, I was like, when mom woke you up and you guys went to play the Ouija board again, what happened? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She never woke me up. And I was like, I legit remember hearing mom waking you up and you guys getting up and going into that room. And he's like, no, she didn't. I was like, yes, she did. I heard the whole conversation. I wasn't sleeping. He's like, sis, I don't remember that. Whoops, sorry, I dropped you guys. I went over a bump. So I don't know about that part of it, but what I do know is that my mom was completely obsessed with getting answers from that Ouija board. And I mentioned it to my mom, and she vaguely remembered that too, but she didn't say that it didn't happen with her waking us up again. So I'm not sure, but what I do know is that when God tells you not to play with things, listen to him. Also, I don't know if that was part of her opening up some bad things in her life. I do know that he was the boyfriend that gave her the substance that was laced with the other substance. And I say that in that way. I'm sure you can read between the lines because it is YouTube, and I know we're not allowed to say, excuse me, certain things on YouTube. So that's what my mom said, but I kind of feel like it was a combination of, you know, the DRUGS and the other stuff that was with it, and then also playing with those things that God tells you not to play with, like don't open those doors, you know. And then when you're doing other things, you're so vulnerable, you know. You let these bad spirits in and out of you. And I really think my mom, and I told her pretty recently, Mom, you need deliverance, you know. And I'm not dismissing the chemical imbalance or the diagnosis, but I do know that there's got to be some kind of connection. I also know that there is scientifically a chemical imbalance, so I'm not saying that that doesn't exist, because, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, didn't play around with this stuff and, you know, didn't do substances that they weren't supposed to do, and, you know, maybe some of them were born with the diagnosis. So I'm not saying that I'm not dismissing the science part of it, but I'm also thinking that it didn't help, or maybe there was something there for my mom to go that far into having that chemical imbalance. I don't know if this makes sense, but it was just something that I do think of this from time to time because I do take it serious. So I just wanted to share that story, and also share my thoughts on the whole boyfriend name, because she was calling him a different name before she was diagnosed with it, or before she had the chemical imbalance. So I mean, it could mean that she just had it, she just wasn't diagnosed and she had it, or I mean, maybe the guy was into bad stuff. That could be it too, and that's why she didn't share his name. It could be many things. But after I told the story yesterday, which I'm now re-recording the story to add this on, I started thinking about the possibility of the whole name thing having more reasons behind why she did that. So hopefully I'm not rambling too much and going into circles. But yeah, everyone have a good day. If anyone wants to add any thoughts to this, then go for it. Okay, bye.